Baylor and Iowa State, congratulations. You're about to have your best football seasons of all time. Texas Tech, we all might have failed you. Let's get locked on Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another evening edition of Locked On Baylor. I'm your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas and the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And we appreciate you making it your first listen every day, multiple times. Okay, it's the evening edition, so we're taking a look around the Big 12. And of course, it's a big, big day for Big 12 football. The schedules were released today. I've got my two maybe new finalists for the Big 12 championship because I think Baylor and Iowa State have got fun, good, and winnable schedules ahead of them for two pretty good teams. And then we're also going to look at why Texas Tech has just abandoned rivalries altogether and how sad that is for all of us. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. So subject to change from now until whatever, September, December, actually really is when they're going to play the Big 12 championship game. But I've liked Baylor from really the start of this thing, what they're bringing back. I still really like BYU. I like Kansas State to be challenging for this conference championship. But when I get this schedule released today, there are two teams that stick out to me. One of them is still Baylor, and the other one is the Iowa State Cyclones, the team that some are writing off, the team that was in the Big 12 championship game last year. I see that schedule, and Cyclones fans, you've never seen anything like this. I'm seeing 12-0. I'm seeing 12-0 from this Iowa State schedule. And to be quite fair, I'm seeing close to, if not right at 12-0 for the Baylor Bears. If Baylor can get through September without losing, they're not going to lose a game until the playoff, maybe. Like, if they can get through that gauntlet of an SEC team, because obviously those teams are just automatically so much better than us, getting past an SEC team and two college football playoff teams from last year. That's what sticks out to me, right? Obviously, we knew about Auburn and SMU to open up the season. And we knew Arizona State was going to be on there somewhere. Big 12 throws it right in September, baby. All right. If Baylor can get through that, they're golden. If they can win those first four, they will win the next 8. And they will be undefeated and playing for the Big 12 championship. Iowa State, hey, they've got a tough one right out the gate. I think they're a little bit better than Kansas State. And that's going to be a premier showcase game for the Big 12. I think this is a really great thing that, we had that awful ACC matchup last year, which ended up being a good game, Georgia Tech and Florida State in Ireland. This year, we give you Farmageddon in Ireland. That's awesome, man. We will give you the heartbeat of America, okay, which is exactly what the Big 12 stands for. Kansas, Iowa, welcome to the great city of Dublin. They like to drink there too. That is so awesome for our conference, for everybody. And it's going to be two ranked teams, two teams that have real ambitions of winning this conference and therefore playing in the college football playoff, and two teams that absolutely have the roster to get there. And it's a rivalry. So I hate taking that off campus in a way because it is a legit rivalry. But, once a decade, you do something like that. You play it in Dublin or London or Sydney or I don't know, Norcatur, Kansas. Let's do it, man. That's so good for our conference. That is one of the games of the year for me in the Big 12. But looking at this Iowa State schedule, guys, I liked where they were last year. Obviously, they got all the way to Arlington. It kind of peters out at the end there to Arizona State. But Arizona State was the better team at the time. I look at what Iowa State brings back. And once you get through that Kansas State game, which it's not a road game, that's nice. It's a cool trip out there. And it's going to be, a real neutral stadium. Iowa, that's a tough game, right? Rivalry. Iowa, usually better. Not this year. And it's at home. They're playing it at Jack Trice Stadium. Then, I mean, in there you got South Dakota, at Arkansas State after the Iowa game. Then you got a bye week. So you're really easing yourself into this thing, really building up some confidence here. Arizona, I think, is maybe the biggest boom or bust team for me in this conference this year. And by boom, I mean like they could be a decent team. I think they could get to 7 or 8 wins. But the bottom of that spectrum is the bottom. I think Arizona could win like 2 games. At Cincinnati, no one's scared to go there. At Colorado, maybe tough. Maybe they figured something out at that point, but that's a new team in terms of the skill positions and the leadership positions. I don't know what you could expect from Colorado this year, specifically by whatever, week 5 or 6 here. But then after that, you're off, bye week. And then Arizona State, or excuse me, your 2 toughest games on the schedule, BYU and Arizona State, back to back. That's not easy. That's not guaranteed nailed on 2 victories. But guess what? You're playing both of them at home. And one of them's homecoming, BYU. And then you play at TCU, not a tough place, or not an easy place to go and win most years. Then you're off again and finish with Kansas and Oklahoma State to finish out the regular season. Like, if this is going to be a year that Iowa State's going to be undefeated, it's going to be this. If there's going to be a year that's going to happen, this is going to be the year where all your tough games are at home or in Ireland. Like that, this is the time is now, Iowa State. The time is now, right? To win your first conference championship in over 100 years. Like the last time they won a conference championship was the first year that their 5th opponent was even a state. Arizona became a state the last year Iowa State won the Big 12, or excuse me, won the conference. God, the Big 12 would be sick if it was around in 1912. What is that? The Taft presidency? Am I right in that? We didn't get to Wilson yet? I don't know my order. Fenway Park was still new. Brand new. Brand spanking new. Jim Thorpe was winning the Olympic medals. That's what was happening the last time Iowa State won the Big 12, except maybe till this year. And Baylor, hey, 7 home games. That was real dangerous when they had 8 home games 2 years ago. But I'm telling you, once you get through that first month, which does include at Oklahoma State, you got Kansas State, tough game. I like Kansas State still. That's at home. Then you've got a bye week after that. And then it leads into one of your bogey teams at TCU. You're coming off a bye week, though. Then at Cincinnati, that's a scrimmage. UCF, home, don't know what you're going to get from them this year. It's homecoming. And then another bye week before you have what could be a difficult game in Utah, but that's also at home. Arizona, I'm telling you, they could bottom out this year. They could be a really bad team. That one's on the road. And then Houston at home, scrimmage. Like, I'm not kidding you guys. If Baylor gets past this first month 4-0, which isn't, I mean, that's an ask right there, they're going to be undefeated for the whole season. It's just my 2 cents about it. Like, that's where it's going to be. So, Baylor, Iowa State, congratulations, guys. We, us, you, undefeated at Arlington, winner and probably loser in that case, goes to the college football playoff. We'll see you then. Texas Tech, on the other hand, dark horse again? They always are. But Texas Tech is emblematic of a problem with the Big 12 that's going on right now before our eyes. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, a message from FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. Ugly number, but it's going to be a hell of a game. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, I mean, the app, guys, it makes it super easy. And knowing that you can place a $5 bet, potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, like, I don't care who's playing in that game. That's a positive outcome. Download the app or head to the FanDuel.com website to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. One thing where the Big 12 is starting to fail us is Texas Tech's schedule this year. And it's coming for us all in different ways. But this is the first time since 1955 that Baylor will not have Texas Tech on their schedule. And in fact, Tech will not be playing Baylor or TCU on the schedule this year. That just can't happen. Like that's, and we've said it on this show before, like that to me is the ultimate downside of conference realignment, conference expansion. I think there are ways to protect these rivalries, and I don't think this conference really cares. Each team has one protected per year, so I think that's the case, and that Baylor will never not play TCU. I think that's right. And then you have a couple that go on the rotating basis, and this happens to be the year that Tech does not get TCU or Baylor, and Baylor does not get Tech this year. So there's ways where you keep it mostly in the fold, but like, I'm sorry, I'm no math major, but how can you not make that happen? Like, they could give an S less if they're playing UCF, Tech, I mean, and Baylor and TCU. Like those teams, they don't care if they're playing UCF. They don't care if they're playing Cincinnati. They don't care if they're playing the Arizona schools. So let's make sure they play each other every year. Like that just doesn't make any sense. I guess Tech's protected rival is Houston, which I mean, they'll tell you that's not a rivalry. Houston, this is where the baggage comes with Houston. They don't have a rival, really. Baylor's not their rival. TCU's not their rival. Tech is not their rival. Like their only rival is out of conference, and it's Rice. Like they don't have a rival in this conference. And this is where the baggage comes in. Now Tech has to play them and have them as a protected rival. For what, dude? They don't care about that game. I know there's plenty of Tech alums in Houston. There's Tech alums everywhere. They're all over the place. They're like roaches. I mean that with all sincerity. But like, come on, dude. That's where you are taking the integrity out of the conference, like entirely. Conference expansion is supposed to make it stronger. It's not supposed to make it unrecognizable. And that's what you do when you take TCU and Baylor off Tech's schedule. And the inverse of that. Baylor still gets TCU and vice versa, and that's great. That's our number one rivalry that you need to protect. But Tech is right there, man. There shouldn't be a season where Baylor's not playing Tech. I'm sorry. And it's not just on Brett Yormark in the Big 12. Tech has their part to play in this too, because Houston is the only in-state team they're playing this year. So, like, that means Tech is not making an effort in the non-conference, even to put up some of those, cupcake teams, those little Debbie teams. But because they should have lost to Abilene Christian last year, they're like, ooh, we should get Arkansas Pine Bluff in here instead. It looks better. Trust me. Like, they also played UNT and kicked the crap out of them. But your first three, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State. 3 non-Power 4 teams, all at home. Like, what does that do for anybody, dude? I'm not saying you need to have some nuts like Baylor is, playing Auburn and at SMU. Look, we can't all be as ballsy as Baylor. I mean, seriously, no one has the non-con that Baylor has in this conference. But can you throw in a Texas team there? Can you throw in a UTSA or I don't know, Sam Houston? Teams that have looked impressive the last couple of years. Obviously Sam Houston, the turnaround last year, and what UTSA has been able to do under Traylor, but still games that you should win. Are you scared to play those teams? Like, where's that coming from? UTEP. Play UTEP. Like, that's a win, man. And I like Scotty Walden, but that's a win. And then at least you have that on your schedule of a regional game. You'll have you have UTEP alums in the Permian Basin and up towards Lubbock, the Llano Estacado. You've got UTEP alums that can be in that stadium. Come on, man. Show some good faith in this state. So they fail themselves in terms of those first 3 games. But the Big 12 does fail Tech here. And Houston fails Tech here. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. What has happened to our great conference and our great conference rivalries? How can we go on without Baylor playing Texas Tech this year? It's bad enough they're not playing UT, which was tough enough to go through on the schedule this year. And Oklahoma too, because that's something that's become a good rivalry over the last, 10 or 15 years between Baylor and OU. But to not have Tech there, like that doesn't make any sense. Like these are three core teams of the Hateful Eight. Baylor, TCU, Tech. We need to be playing each other every year. We stuck it out with this conference. And there's just too much in common, too much overlap for them to not be playing. Maybe that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about Baylor's schedule, Iowa State's schedule? Are those going to be the 2 teams in Arlington? Am I overlooking BYU just because of their schedule? I'll probably come back around to them. Let me know down in the comments section below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Helps out the channel a ton. You guys, we're on the march towards 4,000 subscribers. We're getting very, very close to it. And I need your guys' help there. Most of you watching are not subscribed. We're bringing you fresh Baylor plus Big 12 and Baylor adjacent content every single day. Thank you for making it actually twice a day during Monday through Thursday. It's worth noting. Thank you for making it your first and second listen every day. And we will see you tomorrow after this big Baylor Tech basketball game tonight to keep on with that rivalry. That's coming up on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.